To be honest, I really didn't feel like showing up on my YouTube this week and recording a video because I've been feeling a little bit demoralized and low, and I've been going through a funk for a few days. But I thought, you know what? Let's just talk about this. Let's talk about how I managed to navigate these low phases in my life and how I overcome them. And I'm sure that this is something that a lot of you guys will benefit from, inshallah, because it's a pretty human thing to go through. If you're new here, my name is Sumaya. I'm a personal development coach. And on this channel, I teach you how to cultivate a better relationship with yourself through self-compassion and inner work. Welcome. So I've been in this weird funk for a couple of days now, and I know it's not a big deal because this naturally happens once in a while. We cannot experience constant high in this life. It's not the point of the dunya, it's the point of the akhirah, inshallah. But I just wanted to throw a disclaimer right before we start. This is not a video about how to overcome depression. I struggled with depression for many years myself, and today I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about getting out of a rut that doesn't last long and that we all go through naturally from time to time. So if you're struggling with depression, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I feel you. I pray that you get better soon, but I really recommend that you seek professional help. YouTube is not a substitute for therapy. So if you feel like you've been in a rut for a long time, this might be something serious and it's really worth getting some help, inshallah. So today we're just talking about getting out of a harmless and common funk. And for me, this funk looks pretty much like feeling demotivated, like I struggle to get out of bed in the morning. I feel emotional. I procrastinate a lot on things that I'm supposed to do that have deadlines. I have a lot of negative thoughts. I isolate myself. My appetite just goes out the window and I struggle to eat and I feel fatigued. So this is pretty much how my low phases sound like. Yours might be a bit different. The first thing that will trigger a phase like that is usually something external that will happen in my life, like heartbreak or loss, having to grieve something, failure, stress from work. Or sometimes it's just an accumulation of small things and I tend to get tired over a long period of time, and the rut is just a manifestation of me needing a break. What I do when this happens, first of all, is acknowledging it. There's no point trying to force myself to work as hard and to do as much as when I have high energy and high motivation. So I slow down and I have some rules in mind that I think are very important to maintain. These rules are basically there to stop me from procrastinating on the things that are very important for me and that will actually make me feel better. And what I mean by that is my salah, basically. I know that a lot of people, when they're going through something tough in their lives, they will immediately stop praying because they don't find the motivation within to get up for salah and to maintain it. But in my opinion, that's the time that we need it the most. So I have this rule in mind that no matter how sad, how low, how tired I am, I'll maintain my salah. The second thing for me is working out. Yesterday, I really felt like texting my personal trainer and telling her I can't be bothered to work out, but I forced myself to show up to the session with her because I knew it was going to be painful to just go, but after that it would give me a boost of energy that I really needed, and it would also increase my appetite, which I had been struggling with these past couple of days. So I'm really glad that I didn't cancel, alhamdulillah. And it's the same thing with like my tajweed lessons. Same, like I was really not feeling it this week, but I still maintained them, and I'm glad that I did, even if my mind was not fully focused and my heart was not fully present. And subhanAllah, reading ayahs of the Quran, I felt like they were talking to me in that moment. So I would recommend you maintain the activities that might require you to put in a lot of effort during those times, but that will bring you a lot of reward and that will help you get better. So salah, meditation, journaling, any kind of self-care, working out. Our mind is trying to run away from the things that are difficult but that are going to make us feel better, and we need to push ourselves to maintain those things and to make sure that we go through the pain for the greater purpose, inshallah. So that's the first thing. Have some sort of rules of the things that you absolutely don't want to let go of, even when you're going through a funk. The second step that helps me get out of a rut is to practice complete self-acceptance. And what helps here, and you can do this exercise right now if you're feeling low, is to identify my emotions. In my journal, I write the question, how do I feel right now? I did it yesterday. Just the action of seeing the emotions on paper allowed me to take some distance with them. So this is a moment where I remind myself myself that I am not my emotions. Your emotions are fleeting, they're not gonna last forever. However, your soul is here to experience this life with as much ease as possible, alhamdulillah. And what I do after is that I remind myself that these emotions are here to teach me something. So rather than resist them and try to run away from them, if I just sat with them and listened to them, I might be able to grow through this. What I do after that is that I ask myself, what would make me feel better right now? And I know this is a very simple question, but when I share it with my clients as well, they're like, wow, this is such a game changer, because a lot of the time we would just dwell in our sadness and we forget to ask ourselves, what would make me feel better right now? For me, a lot of the time it's calling my best friend. So I did that a couple of days ago, and alhamdulillah, she created a safe space for me to just voice out what was going on in my head, and then she checked on me later in the evening, which felt really nice. I felt loved and I felt seen and heard, alhamdulillah. It also looks like ordering my favorite comfort food. I don't know what you guys like to have when you're feeling low. For me, it's sushi. Comment below what your favorite comfort food is, inshallah. I'm interested in knowing, just to see. So I order myself some sushi and I watch a movie, which is something that I rarely do, but I allow myself to just rest. It stops me from overthinking about the current situation. And for you, that might be completely different. I think the general idea here is to listen to your body and act accordingly, inshallah. The third thing that I do here is that I pay a lot of attention to what my inner dialogue sounds like. This is a time where it's very easy to shame ourselves and to look at ourselves and think, look at how lazy you are, look at the mistakes that you've made. What happens when we entertain this kind of inner dialogue is that we only get worse. So I'm very mindful of what I tell myself in this moment, and I try my best to be as loving and as kind as possible towards myself. The fourth thing that I do at this point is that I deal with the feeling of being overwhelmed. A lot of the time when I'm feeling sad or I'm going through a funk, this creeping sensation of overwhelm comes at me because I tend to procrastinate a lot. It's like my to-do list is getting longer and longer and longer, and my head is just getting heavier. I do a huge brain dump of everything that's on my mind. After I've written down everything, I eliminate all the tasks that I don't need to prioritize right now, and that feels so good. And I'm left with like one or two things to do. And the last thing that I do, which might sound a bit radical, I like to set a deadline for myself to get over this rut. The reason why I do that is because I tend to self-sabotage a lot. I would let my rut last for way longer than it needs to, just because I'm afraid of my success. And I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of us are actually struggling with self-sabotage in that way. So I put a deadline on how much I'm gonna allow myself to not do much. And yesterday was actually the end of my deadline. So up until yesterday, I allowed myself to stay extra in bed, to not do any work, to just focus on the basics, like keeping my place clean and spending time with my daughter and things like that. But I was not pushing myself hard. But starting today, I went back in the flow of doing things. And the way that I do that is that I start small. And sometimes it only starts with me telling myself, okay, I'm just gonna take a shower and wash the dishes today. And if I do these two things, I'll be happy. But what ends up happening is that the momentum of doing these two small things will bring more energy to do more things, and I'll end up cleaning the entire apartment. Think about that for yourself. Like, what are small actions that you can start, even if it's just getting out of bed and brushing your teeth, that might push you to do more? But don't think too much about what would happen after. Just focus on one small action at a time. Don't wait for motivation to come back to you. Take action and then motivation will come. It's also important to not aim for perfection in this process, because a lot of procrastinators who are in a rut stay in a rut because they convince themselves that they need to be perfectly ready to take action again. That's the worst thing that you can do for yourself. Don't wait to be perfect again to get back to work. Just get back to work. Once I start taking small actions, what happens at this point is that I will reevaluate my yearly goals after going through this low phase, and I will adjust if anything needs to be adjusted. I also like to review my intentions because it helps me keep the momentum alive after going through a funk. And at this point, I would usually enter what we call monk mode in personal development, which is a phase in my life in which I'm really intensely focused on my goals. But this is a topic for another video, inshallah. And let me know in the comment section below if you want to know how I do that. In the meantime, if you need help to get you started on journaling, make sure that you check out my free digital journals on my website. You should definitely watch my other videos on the topic as well. Share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video, inshallah. Ma salama.